Assalamualaikum everyone. I would like to review text about digital literacy, UNESCO Institute for Information Technology in Education, digital natives, how do they learn, how to teach them. My name is Rizqi Amalia, and let's get started. And I think the type of this digital literacy is hortatory exposition text. This is the topic that we are going to discuss. The topic is social function, generic structure, which future, suggestions and recommendation, significant lexigrammatical features, language features, benefit and criticize, and the last is references. The social function. The social function is to persuade the reader from UNESCO Institute for Information Technologies in Education about different point of view about issues or problem. The relationship people have with technology is changing and new social behaviors are appearing. In the digital society, a new generation has emerged, the digital natives. Who are they? How do they learn? And the generic structure is thesis. In this thesis, the digital society or a new generation is emerging, the digital natives, but not only they have new and specific digital abilities, they also bring new concepts, new stakes, and the traditional schools and traditional pedagogies can hardly cope with this new generation. This policy brief aims at considering the questions of digital natives, their place in a digital society and knowledge society, and the new issues that such a generation brings forth in order to help design appropriate pedagogical and educational strategies for the era of digital natives. The argument is about toward a digital society. There are 2 points here, is emerging information technologies and communication technologies into ICT made possible a fast and massive development of new technologies such as computers, telephones, cameras, television, music players, smartphone, tablets, all kind of digital device. And number 2 point is a digital society is a technological society, one in which information and communication are co-concept. Information has become a valuable economic good that one can buy, store, and sell. In this argument about digital natives, is the concept of digital native was introduced by Mark Prensky, 2001. Digital native represent the first generation to grow up with this new technology. They are used to all kinds of digital toys and tools. In the web of 2.0, interactivity, community, communication, collaboration, that is all kinds of digital toys and tools. In this argument about digital natives and the Generation Y, if you're wondering what's a Generation Y is the millennial generation, or Generation Y is the generation born around 1980 to 1995. When technology has advanced, they grew up in a world that has become adept at using social media and smartphones so that they automatically know. In this, digital natives and the Generation Y explains or arguments about it is a generation of digital natives, but we must keep in mind that this generation has many other characteristics, which are as important. Is it a generation of massive unemployment? It is marked by globalization, and it did not know a world without AIDS. And Generation Y is a generation of growing independence, a certain insecurity towards the future, and a strong desire to give meaning to what they do. Today, as the Generation Y reaches adult age and becomes employed, huge change takes place inside companies. And number 2 point is new approaches and ideas toward hierarchy, time constraints, process task sharing, distant working, and multitasking. The potential of education conflicts between generations. In this argument, I have 5 points, but I'm just gonna explain 2 points. When number 1 is when digital natives get a job in a pre-digital company or institution, they may also encounter huge difficulties since they have a different vision of what working is, what communicating is, what collaborating is, as well as a different understanding of hierarchy. And number 2 is the generation before the digital natives cannot fully understand them or share their values and face difficulties when communicating with them, collaborating with them, and of course, educating them. And the next is 3 core stakes for digital natives. Accessing new knowledge, networking, and developing collective intelligence seems to be 3 main aspects of the way digital natives behave. Number 1, there is a new knowledge and lifelong learning. Edgar Morin, a French philosopher, proposed 7 new forms of knowledge to be taught in order to meet the needs of our century. Is digital natives, how do they learn? How do they teach them? The basic knowledge of the Generation Y cannot be reduced to read, write, count. Knowledge cannot be reduced to the addition of traditional school subjects. And number 2 is network. A network can be defined as a set of point, piece of information, person, web, pages, linked by edges of or segment, such as direct access or a click of the mouse, internet connection. In a network, we find totally different hierarchies. And number 3 is collective intelligence. Collective intelligence is not simply the addition of individual intelligence in a group. Instead, it includes a kind of added value, a form of intelligence that cannot be reached at the individual level. And the next is knowledge and learning for digital natives. Number 1 is information. However, it's different than knowledge. Information has to be processed according to the context and according to the learner in order to read to the construction of knowledge. And number 2, as we just saw, or read, knowledge for digital age cannot be traditional curriculum consisting only of a list of items. Knowledge today is more complex, more transverse, and evolves very rapidly. And the next is teaching the argument about teaching the digital natives. The development of networks leads to new forms of pedagogies oriented towards collaborative work and that use all the possibilities of interactions in those networks, such as Web 2.0. We also have to design social pedagogies adapted for collective learning, collective intelligence, collective competence, and collective achievement. And the next is which future? What is our vision for a digital society? What strategies do we need to implement the core values? Of course, there will be a new future when teachers will also be a digital natives. But the pace of today's changes is so high that we can predict that new core concepts and frameworks will always develop in our society, and therefore a gap will exist between the new natives and the previous generation. And this is the suggestion and recommendation. In order to design teaching and learning strategies for digital natives, we must identify not only their digital characteristic, but also their social, economical, and human characteristic. And the significant lexicogrammatical feature, there is a generic human and generic non-human. The generic human is digital society and Generation Y. The generic non-human is digital toys and tools and information and communication technology. And the materials process is developed and processed. The relation process a digital society is, and number two is the generation is, and the relationship people have with technology is changing. And the mental processes is think, and the simple present tense is the first generation to grow up with this new technology, but also to reading, writing, coping with knowledge. The language features is simple present tense. There is modals and adverb, is may and must, and the action verbs is think. And the abstract nouns is knowledge and intelligence. And the comparative constructive, they are also. And the consequential conjunction, finally. And this is the abstraction. In the digital society, a new generation is emerging, the digital native. Not only they have new and specific digital abilities, they also bring a new concept, new stakes. And this is the benefit and criticize the text from one angle. The benefit is digital natives represent the first generation to grow up with this new technology. The digital generation has a lot of new and impressive competences, and digital natives are able to adapt to the technology changes around them because they have grown up and developed in a society that is rapidly changing at all times. This has impacted how they develop and sets them apart from digital immigrants. And the critics is a new generation of learner is one which has grown up with information and communication technology as an integral part of their everyday lives. It made them different from previous generation of students in the way they use ICT. The previous generation is Generation Y. And this is the references in the journal. Thank you.